Nicole Angelique Kerr, and I'm an eternality advocate, public speaker, and a neuroemotional technique practitioner.
So can you tell me a little bit about, your life journey?
Absolutely. I have been blessed, first of all, to come back. And I say that because I was in a near-death accident. Actually, I've come back from death. When I was 19 years old, it was a car crash when I was a cadet out at the United States Air Force Academy. And that single event totally transformed my life. And I basically have been on a journey my entire adulthood to transform belief systems that are not serving me anymore, that are actually false, they're lies, they're untruths, and I've had to unravel them, and I've had to come into my own awareness and formulation and evolution of what I really believe and who I really am, instead of just being someone who had these beliefs put upon them and just absorbed them and went on with my life. So it caused me to really have to do a lot of self-transformation work. And it's not easy. Transformation is not for the faint of heart, but that's what my whole journey has been. And I've gone into the wellness world as a result of my crash. I became a registered dietitian nutritionist. I've been a wellness director. I've always been about prevention in terms of health and lifestyle medicine. And I also have delved into emotional healing, because you can't just work on one domain. There's multiple domains in the wellness wheel. So it's not just the physical, what you're eating and what your sleep and your physical activity. You got to look at your emotions and how they may be sabotaging you from achieving what you really want. And then, of course, the mental health piece and stress is absolutely crucial to look at as well. And then the last quadrant is spiritual health. And that is the part of my career that I'm in right now, Mike, is the spiritual health and how that relates to your overall well-being.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about how important is it to have, spiritual health as with, physical, mental, and everything else?
Well, to me, it's interesting that it's kind of the last quadrant, but it actually is the most important quadrant. And this has been defined by the World Health Organization. Okay. I'm not making this up, that spiritual health is important. It has always been known to be that way. And I think, when I talk about spiritual health, I talk about what it is that you believe in that's greater than yourself. Okay. There's some purpose that you are here for. Okay. And for most of us, that's learning to love ourselves. And that is much harder to do than it is to say, because there's so many filters that have been put upon us since our birth that have caused us to feel that we're worthless, or that we're not entitled to happiness, or for some reason we made a mistake and therefore we're a bad person as a result of that. And we get these labels put on us that we allow to stick with us, instead of realizing that in a spiritual realm, which is who we really are, spiritual beings inside this human form, that absolutely doesn't make any difference. When I had my near-death experience, I crossed over to the other side. And 19 years after my crash, I remembered what happened on the other side. And on the other side, I will tell you, there is no judgment. So if we could learn to not judge ourselves here on earth, that would be one of the biggest things that we could do to help love ourselves, not judge ourselves or others. Because when you put judgment at the top, you can't love, and therefore you're not going to have peace. If we can reverse and put love at the top, then we can get to peace. But as long as we're out judging ourselves and others, we're never going to get there, Mike. So we need to really let go of the judgment, because I will tell you, the terms bad and good, those are earthly terms that man has created here on earth in order to evaluate ourselves and other people. They do not exist in heaven or the other side or whatever you want to call it. Those terms don't exist. It's all bliss. So therefore, there is no judgment. So if we could get that concept here and quit judging ourselves, think how freeing that would be. You know, I'm not saying that there's not a life review, because there is. So what you say, think, and do on earth matters, but you're not going to be judged. There's nobody up there keeping score, you know, like Santa Claus, like you're good or bad. That just doesn't exist. So take the word should out of your vocabulary. Start being aware when you start shoulding yourself and shoulding other people, because you're making a judgment on yourself when you're doing that. And you're not loving yourself as a result. So that's the first thing to do.
How does helping others help your own healing process?
Oh, giving service is one of the best things that you can do to help your own self-esteem. I will tell you that giving back, okay, is one of the greatest things to loving yourself as well, because you feel good. You get those endorphins, that high when you've helped somebody. And I think that starts to happen to us after age maybe 50 or 60, maybe when we still, you know, when we're looking at retirement, because before that, you're always busy with school, then it's family, then a lot of us, it's children, and then they go off to college, and all of a sudden you go, okay, I'm retiring now. What do I want to do? And most people want to give back. They want to volunteer in some way and help the world become a better place. And when you give service, whatever it is, whether it's, you know, physically doing something, financially doing, contributing to things. I mean, think about how good all these people, I live in North Carolina, and Western North Carolina was decimated by Hurricane Helene. I mean, the town of Chimney Rock, Black Mountain, they don't exist anymore. They're having to use mules to get supplies to people. They still don't have water or electricity. And so they have got so many donations pouring in from people, they can't handle it. It's overwhelming, the people on the ground, all the clothes that are coming in, all the, you know, that support. And so, but you feel really good being able to help them, you know? And that is that feeling that we are trying to capture, the joy, the love, the just that feel good that keeps us in that high vibrational state. So that's why random acts of kindness are so encouraged, is because your level of vibration goes up when you do that. You're not thinking about yourself. You're getting out of yourself and your head and your problems and your worries and your stressors, and you're focusing on somebody else that's in greater need than you. And I will tell you, I am a 100% disabled veteran. And what I would also like to say to people is, when you see a veteran and you say, thank you for your service. Yeah, I appreciate that you thank me for my service, but follow it up with this question. How may I be of service to you today? Think about that. How may I be of service to you today? And if they need $10 for a meal and you've got $10, give it to them. If they need to be driven to a medical appointment and you've got time, make the commitment to take them to a medical appointment. So flip it and give some service to them, because they put their lives on the line so that we can have the freedoms that we do today.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of veterans, and they talk about their stories, especially transitioning out of the military. But how important is it for veterans to have a support system, however that is?
Oh, and let me tell you, trying to deal with the VA alone, that needs an advocate, you know, and so many veterans don't have advocates. So yes, there is so much that we can do to help these special group of people that really do need it, because it is an overwhelming task, especially with mental health. We have almost 30 veterans that commit suicide a day. So that in a week is 210 people, Mike. That is unacceptable in a country that has as many resources as America does. And we have got to do a better job helping veterans, especially in the mental health department, getting them access to care, getting them, social workers to check in on them, making sure that their needs are met in that capacity, as well as housing situation.
I know for me, I live with bipolar disorder too, and I have treatment that works for me and a support system. But when you work with people and they have their own treatment that works for them, do you see their confidence level rise?
Absolutely. And I think you also hit on a key part is support, because nobody who has any kind of physical illness, mental illness, emotional illness, they need to know someone has their back. That takes a level of stress off of you. It's just like, whew, someone else has got my back. I don't have to worry about every little detail. Medications, going to get it, going to make sure I'm taking it at the right time. What happens if I get COVID on top of this and I'm not feeling good and I can't get my food or whatever? There's so much stress in just daily living and doing daily activities that people that are not dealing with this take for granted. And to know that you've got someone that you can count on truly that has your back, you're an angel if you're in that caregiver or support capacity, in my opinion, because we all need it. We really do.
What do you do to help your own mental health?
Well, first of all, I have done so much over the last 40 years of my adulthood to dive into alternative modalities for wellness. And a lot of it's been mental health. And that's because I did not get mental health treatment as a result of this car crash because my parents believed they're very religious, and they told the doctor that Jesus was our psychiatrist and psychologist and Jesus would cure me. Well, I will have to tell you that Jesus never came down and sat on the sofa and said, Nicole, let's talk about what happened to me is my trauma manifested in an eating disorder. And for any of you out there who deal with an eating disorder, whether it's bulimia, compulsive overeating, or binge eating disorder, or anorexia, whatever the scale is, it is a very, very shame-based disease. And it's very secretive. And I will tell you that I lived with it for 20 years because I hated myself so much. And back in the 80s, there wasn't much out there about eating disorders. So I had to find my way through therapy, through getting my help solo to try to figure out how to heal from this. And I thought, oh, it's a food issue, so I'll go into the field of nutrition. So I did, thinking that I could fix myself. So how many people do that? They go into a field because they're dealing with that issue, thinking that if they just get enough knowledge that they can fix themselves. And what I realized after I got my master's in public health and nutrition and my registered dietitian license was it wasn't about the food at all. It was a mental issue, and it had to do with low self-esteem and perfectionism, self-hatred, all these other traits and characteristics that were dominating my mind and my life. And it was just the way my body dealt with the trauma instead of me actually going through and dealing with it for myself. So to deal with my mental health now, I still off and on have seen a counselor or therapist my entire adulthood. So I still, when I get to issues that are still triggering for me, I get back into therapy again. I found a great trauma therapist. So I'm back seeing her again. I was diagnosed with PTSD 3 years ago. Now, this event happened in 1983. I didn't get this diagnosis from the VA until 3 years ago. They have misdiagnosed me all these years. And that is very common, unfortunately, with a lot of people with a lot of mental illnesses. They get misdiagnosed. And you have to get the right diagnosis in order to get the right treatment. Otherwise, things are not going to work, especially medications, because it's all about the right dosing at the right time, with the right drug. So I finally, I'm on a medication, and I absolutely recommend that, people try different things. Some people are trying psychedelics now to help. That's a whole area that's opening up, ketamine, things like that to help people as well. So I'm glad to see there are more options as well. And then I make sure I get out in nature. Nature really helps ground me, Mike, in terms of my mental health. I stay away from negative energy and stressors. I don't watch stuff that's going to really trigger me on TV or movies or anything like that. I stay away from large crowds of people. I know what my triggers are now, so I have to be aware of that and stay away from it, even though sometimes I want to go, to a concert and be in a crowd. But once I get in there, my anxiety gets up and I just am like, no, I can't do this. So it's being aware of those triggers and loving yourself by not putting yourself in that environment, even though your friends and family may want you to do that.
And when I was doing my research, you wrote a book with, congrats by that. But how does it feel to get all your thoughts, feelings, everything out on the page?
I will tell you, this book, You Are Deathless, took me 13 years to write. And I will tell you, it is from my heart that I wrote it. It is authentic. I did not mince words. I told my truth. I told people about my eating disorder, which had previously held a lot of shame for me. I just put it out there. Yeah, I'm a dietitian and I suffer from an eating disorder, but that makes me more compassionate, empathetic, and sympathetic to those people that have eating disorders. Because as you can see on my credentials up here, BTDT, been there, done that. I think that is the best credential in the world. And there's no, same thing for my near-death experience. I was clinically dead 10 to 13 minutes. There's no classes you can take on being dead. That's an experiential thing. And all I can say is I've been there and done that. And what I remember is not to fear death. And why not to fear it? Because God is love. God is not judgmental or punitive or negative or any of this stuff that a lot of the religions have created God to be. And it was just so freeing to realize that, and to realize that I was not going to be judged, that there is no hell. When people say, Nicole, is there a hell? I go, hell no. Actually, hell is on earth. If you are in an active addiction and can't get out of it, that is living in hell. If you are in a war-torn zone like the Ukraine or Gaza or any of these places right now, that is living in hell. So yes, hell exists on earth, but it's not a place you're going to go to once you pass on. Your soul, all of our souls are going to the other side, okay? It's energy. It's this consciousness that we have that lives on. That's why I say you're deathless. And writing this book actually helped me heal. So I recommend to people, whether you're dealing with, in recovery, with an addiction, any issues that you're dealing, you become the expert in that in terms of your journey of healing. And so writing it out there helps you heal. And then I took it a step further and I did Audible and I voiced it. So I read my book out for Audible. That is using a different sense. It's using your voice. Okay. And so many of us are scared to really speak our truth and to tell our voice. We want to please people. I can tell you that identity, you got to get rid of it because you're never going to wind up happy if you keep trying to please other people. It's just not going to happen. So quit doing it. So anyway, voicing it is another way of healing. And then the final one is using your ears to hear yourself in your own words tell your story. That embodies those emotions and gets it out of your head. And you really go, oh my God, that was me that I'm talking about. And it absolutely, it's like you're finally in alignment mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, with the trauma and congruent with that. And I can't say enough about how much that whole layering process helped in my healing journey.
And then just talking to you, there's a lot of things I could relate to as lived experience. Do you think just having your story out there is more helpful than, just someone saying tips or spitting out data and stuff like that?
Absolutely, it is. And I can tell you just from the emails that I've gotten, YouTube, there's one on a video that a podcaster did that put pictures to my voice, and that has almost 500,000 views. It's called The Other Side.
Wow.
Yeah, NDE channel. And so I know based on the response I'm getting from people that I'm validating that God is love. They're starting to become aware and question maybe the generational ancestral patterns that they inherited. They're starting to go, why am I believing this just because my mother said it or my grandmother said it or my dad, so that's the first step, is to become aware and to start asking these questions of, you came in as a soul to learn some lessons here and to learn to remember who you are at a soul level, which is you're perfect. There's nothing wrong with you. And so many times we spend our life trying to fix what we think is wrong with us instead of just throwing that out the window and saying, I love me just as I am. All my scars, all my issues, I call them the issues in your tissues. We all got them. Okay. There's not a one of us that came on this planet perfect, or you didn't need to come. Why come if you're perfect? So we're all on this evolution of our soul's journey. And so, give yourself some compassion, give yourself some grace, that it's the school of hard knocks. I'm telling you, Earth is the school of hard knocks. And to just, for me, learning to just manage each day and realize what I can do and what I can't do, that I have limitations now that I never had before. That's a hard reality for a lot of people to get, is you can't do everything that you thought you could do or used to could do, that you now have certain challenges that take more of a priority to just keep yourself balanced. And you have to take care of yourself first.
What would you say to anyone going through a tough time?
This too shall pass. Okay. Everything does pass. Okay. So, you're not alone. That's the first thing I want to tell you. There's nothing that you're going through that somebody that has lived before you or is living right now. There's 8 billion people on this planet. So you're not the only one that is going through this. Okay. And I think that helps you to know that you're not alone, first of all. Second of all, get the help and the support that you need. Okay. Don't try to do this by yourself. Don't think, oh, I can figure myself out. If you could have figured yourself out, you would have done that a long time ago. Okay. There are lots of organizations. There's lots of modalities to help with treatment. Do not see that as a weakness. It is a strength to be able to ask for help. So please reach out and get the help, and don't stop if you just had one therapist and you go, I don't like therapy. Okay. You have to interview them. That's the way I look at it, because it's got to be somebody who you're going to connect with and relate to, and someone you can be honest with. Because if you're not being honest, it's not helping you. They could care less. I mean, they're trying to help you, but you got to be honest and upfront about what's going on. There's no shame in that at all. So please get the help. Stay with it, even though you may not think it's working. There's all kinds of forms. There's art therapy. There's neuroemotional technique. There's the body code. There's psychedelics. I mean, there are so many. There's biofeedback. There's hypnosis. We are blessed to have so many different modalities to treat whatever pain you're in. And I want people to know that there's also something, even though we have physical wounds, like you break your arm or your legs and you have to go to the doctor and get that set, right? Same with mental health. If you have depression, PTSD, bipolar, you have to go to the experts and get help with that. Don't try to treat it yourself. But I also want people to know that there's soul wounds. Okay. And the soul is something that's not talked about a lot. I mean, I wasn't educated on the soul growing up in the South. We had soul music and soul food, but I didn't understand what our soul was. But your soul can endure fracturing from trauma. So sometimes you may need a shaman or someone who's familiar with something called soul loss to bring those parts of you that flew away when you were traumatized back in to yourself to be congruent and whole again. Because your body does that. It fractures at a soul level in order to protect yourself. That's why a lot of people don't remember sexual abuse for maybe decades later, is because they were so traumatized that part of their soul left and they just have not integrated it back in. So that's another avenue to check out regarding healing in your healing journey.
Speaking of healing journey, where do you want to see your mission in the next 3 to 5 years?
That's a great question. You know, my mission, I used to have these grandeur, like 5-year plans and 10-year plans, you know, and my
Yeah.
steps to get to them. I'm done with all of that. I take it day to day right now. And what my mission is now is I want people to not fear death. And I want you to realize that every day that you wake up, to be present and to be mindful that this may be your last day on earth. Okay. And if we knew that today was going to be my last day on earth, how would you treat people that you came in contact with? You would be kind. You would be loving. If I knew I was never going to see you again, I would be a authentic, loving, kind, caring, compassionate individual. Well, do that every day. Okay, just do it, because my friend may have, a terminal diagnosis, so she knows she's on a short time here on earth. But Here's the deal. At 19 years old, I didn't think I was going to die, and I did. So it can happen to any of us at any time, and we need to be prepared. We need to start talking about death, get away from the doom and gloom, and see it as love, light, beauty. Yes, it is painful on a human level, and there's grief when people pass, but there's also the bigger picture of this cosmic context of death and how our souls live on. Okay, that breath we take, that energy that is keeping us alive, that is what transcends, and that is what lives on, and that is what goes to the other side. And I will tell you, your deceased loved ones will be there to greet you, and your pets. I want to tell people, because I have 2 little doggies that I absolutely love. Your pets will be there on the other side. They have souls, okay? They go because they make us happy. So that's my mission now. And I try to be present in my day. And I ask the angels and I ask Creator, what is it that I'm supposed to do today? I'm showing up and I'm ready to give service. What does that look like for me today? And it happens to be talking to you today. That's what I'm supposed to do. And I've quit trying to put a lot on my schedule and thinking I can do it all, because I still have to manage my health and my energy. And that takes a lot for me to do that. So to show up and to hopefully have said something today on your podcast that can inspire someone, give them hope, and be effective in some way. That's my true goal, and to change the narrative around death so that it's the only thing that's going to happen to every single one of us. So we need to start the conversation and be prepared for it and not act like, oh, this is terrible when it does happen. You know, for some people, it's actually a blessing that they go, because they're in a lot of pain and they're suffering. And I will tell you, upon death, there is no pain, none at all. As soon as I went through the windshield, an angel came down, picked me up, took me to the other side. I knew I was going to die, but I never hit the ground. My soul left before that. And that's usually what happens with a lot of traumatic injuries, crashes, things like that. Your soul will leave before you hit the ground. So you never, even to this day, experience or remember the pain.
So how can people reach out to you and learn more?
Well, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Nicole Angelique Kerr. You can reach out there. My website is probably the best way, www.nicolekerr.com. You can pick up my book. It's only $10. What's that? A large Frappuccino now at Starbucks.
Right.
Yeah. And I also have it on Audible and Kindle. It's at Barnes and Noble as well. And your local bookstore can order it. And it really does talk about my journey and talks about trauma, repressed memories, and dealing with all of that and how to transform your life and to especially to love yourself. And I think that is one of the hardest things because we get spiritual amnesia when we're born. We forget who we are, which are these perfect, eternal, radiant, glorious beings, you know? And that's how you can get a hold of me. And I thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your show. And I applaud what you're doing to help people. And I just, want everybody to be at peace with themselves. I think that's another huge part of it, and be free to not live in fear, because when you live in fear, you're never going to take the chances and fully live life, because you're back here in your amygdala in that fight, flight, or fear. And you've got to get here in your prefrontal cortex and be able to make rational decisions. And when you're in fear, you're going to sabotage yourself all the time. So learning to deal with your fears, most of which are irrational. There's some that are rational, but most of them are irrational. So start to peel away the irrational ones and confront them and put them to bed, because they're keeping you from living your life. And it is a beautiful life that we can live. It's a beautiful earth. And to take care of Mother Earth. That's the other thing I want to say. We got to take care of her and all sentient beings, as well as each other. In the military, they told us we all bleed red. It doesn't matter what your sex, your ethnicity, your gender, any of that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, we all bleed red, and we're all the same. We're all love, and we're all one consciousness.